there's evidence that the United States was created for this purpose expressly.
Okay.
And that's Bobby Garner's research. I'm not, well-versed enough to really go into it, but there's some good stuff there. The Pilgrim Society is one that I haven't done any research on them. And then there's a book called The Union Jack, which is real important, and Sir Francis Bacon and what was going on with Elizabeth I.
Yes.
There's a lot. So, and then it goes back further, obviously,
Yeah.
That's where you get into the Masonic stuff, the Illuminati, the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, the Free and Accepted, the connections between Prussia and France and the United States against England, yeah.
Absolutely. And again, I'm thinking back of that idea when we have, communist dictator like Castro is like shaking hands with his boss and grandmaster of the Sovereign Military Order of Malta, Andrew Bertie, has passed away right now, but we have pictures of them standing there and doing their handshake, and it's like, okay, wait a minute here, here's one guy from the left, and there's another one from the seemingly, more conservative right, as it were, or with branches within the Vatican, and things like this. What's going on here? There's a common unity above this, facade that we're looking at,
Yeah.
And
that's where they can totally label you a conspiracy theorist and shut down all your research in a heartbeat. Actually, you don't even have to go there. They labeled me a conspiracy theorist just for asking about the law.
Okay, yeah, there you go.
So you might as well write about Masonry.
Well, exactly.
Because they're throwing you down that road anyway. And, that's the murky connection. That's the Jesuits have their own secret societies, too. There's a lot of secret societies involved.
Yeah.
And maybe they're all connected somehow. I don't have a clue. But, yeah. And, the American Revolution and the French Revolution, this was amazing to me as an American student who's also, I've done very well in history my whole life. I didn't know any of it. I didn't understand von Steuben was part of the same, society as George Washington, all of George Washington's officers were Masons. No, we are not told that in school.
No.
So I found that fascinating.
Absolutely, and so this is what you've been doing here in a way. Then you could say is that you've come to this area from a really interesting perspective, just from a kind of an honest, searching for just some answers. It's like, what the heck is going on here? Where are we going? And why are we in the position we're in, right? And then all of these things are keeping, popping up. Same, you have secret societies popping up here and there, allegiances, across the left and the right dialectic, as it were, that they're given to us within the political milieu, for instance. But if we look at some of the things that they have done and what they potentially are going to do in the future, and look at their plans, so to speak, how far along do you think we are in their plans? Are we like really closing up here now to the final structure is going to be in place, and 10 years from now we're going to live in this global dictatorship that you mentioned here? What do you think?
Well, it seems to be 2020 is one of their favorite years for their visions. They call them Vision 2020.
Mm.
Anchorage 2020 is, just one of the many plans I've studied that have the word 2020, and that's why we called our book 2020 Our Common Destiny. So I think we have about 12 years before they're supposed to be ready. See, what we're seeing now, Henrik, is the groundwork is being laid.
Mm-hmm.
The bureaucratic structure has already been introduced in all the cities across America, and from what I'm learning from Paul Barnes, our co-contributor to the book, in Canada, same thing there. And then people from England write and say the same thing is happening here, only it's more advanced. And within the European Union, whatever I read about the European Union is they're establishing the case law, and establishing the courts. So once they have that completed, I don't think they're going to do their big takeover until they have their whole system built from the ground up.
Well, it's the way I look at it is that it's not going to be like a big takeover, like one step where we actually can see it. Okay, there it happened, because it's taken care of so incrementally. So we're blind to it because it spawns over hundreds of years, this process, right?
Yes, and we're already under it. Our people in this, even around here, independent Alaskans, okay? First of all, they're falling for Sarah Palin.
Yeah, there you go.
Don't know anything about her. And then, on the other hand, I had we're having trouble finding wood in my neighborhood, and I live on 22 million acres of forest and mountains, and we can't get wood. I just think that's nuts.
That is
They're
nuts.
tying it all up with the Indians, They're giving it all back to the Indians, and they're putting no trespassing signs everywhere. I mean, you can't get nowhere on these back roads.
So now if we revert this, of course, I mean, we know that the suppression of Indians is taking place, but now it's in reverse then. So now the European descendants, as it were, or what have you, their rights are being taken away now as well. Is that what's going on here?
Yes, everybody's rights are being taken away. I mean, the idea that they're giving it to the Indians is just another front, to lock up the land. And this goes back to your question. Can you get outside of it? Can you choose to abstain from participation in the global government? No. Mm-hmm. They got the land.
Yeah.
Where are you going to go?
That's true. Absolutely true. And, Niki, what I want to do is I want to continue talking here in our next segment, in our member section, and talk more about this and what we can do and about the land, of course. I want to talk about more how you would run society if you get a shot to do that, or even if you would be willing, or whatever, your ideas and theories about that. I want to talk a little bit more about Agenda 21, also the European Union, and a whole lot more. But before we stop here and take a short break, I want you to mention your websites again, of course, and you mentioned your book, A Common Destiny 2020. How would people go about getting a copy of that if they're interested in finding out more about your work?
Right now, it's only available at the Anti-Communitarian League website. That's NORD, N-O-R-D, .TWU, thewebunion.net. And from there, you can get to most of the writings. And we've just published our first edition of the Anti-Communitarian Manifesto, and we'll be mailing it out in about 2 weeks to the people that have pre-ordered it. And we did that from a lot of people started asking for more hard copy stuff. I just put everything for free online, for a long time. 2020, Our Common Destiny is a condensed version of the basic understanding of communitarianism, the law, Local Agenda 21, and Vision 2020.
Very good. So again, the website there is nord.twu.net, and I will have this linked up again on Red Eye, so you can find these links easily. And from there, you can find a whole lot more writing. You can find links to the books and so much more there. Thank you very much for this segment, Niki. Stay with us, then. We'll take a short break, and we'll be right back.
All right. Thank you.
Join us in our members section for the continuation of our conversation with Niki Raapana. We're going to talk more about the communitarian ideology, and if there are any alternatives, if you don't want to be a part of their system anymore, and if there's any places left where you can go. We'll also discuss the concept of Big Mother and their depopulation goals, who will make it and who will not. So head on over to our website, redicecreations.com. Click on subscribe. You'll get instant access when you sign up and tune in. We have so much material for you in our members area, so do take advantage of it. It's growing all the time. I also want to remind you about our Halloween special with Christopher Morse. Red Eyes Live, our webcast on Friday the 31st. All times and details will be available on our front page. Join us on our Justin.tv channel. We have a chat box there, so you can follow along, and we might take some questions during the show. So do check that out. And to finish up here this segment and to lead into the next one, we're going to listen to the speech that Howard Rourke gives in the movie The Fountainhead. So listen up, an excellent speech coming up here. But more with Niki Raapana coming right up in our member section. Thank you very much. Talk soon.
I solemnly ask of every man who hears this case to let his own mind pronounce a verdict upon it. You have heard the testimony of the state's witnesses. The confession of Peter Keating has made clear that Howard Rourke is a ruthless egoist who has destroyed Cortlandt Homes for his own selfish motive. The issue which you are to decide is the crucial issue of our age. Has man any right to exist if he refuses to serve society? Let your verdict give us the answer. The state rests.
The defense may proceed.
Your Honor, I shall call no witnesses. This will be my testimony and my summation.
Take the oath.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Thousands of years ago, the first man discovered how to make fire. He was probably burned at the stake he had taught his brothers to light, but he left them a gift they had not conceived, and he lifted darkness off the earth. Throughout the centuries, there were men who took first steps down new roads, armed with nothing but their own vision. The great creators, the thinkers, the artists, the scientists, the inventors, stood alone against the men of their time. Every new thought was opposed. Every new invention was denounced. But the men of unborrowed vision went ahead. They fought, they suffered, and they paid, but they won. No creator was prompted by a desire to please his brothers. His brothers hated the gift he offered. His truth was his only motive. His work was his only goal. His work, not those who used it. His creation, not the benefits others derived from it. The creation which gave form to his truth. He held his truth above all things and against all men. He went ahead, whether others agreed with him or not, with his integrity as his only banner. He served nothing and no one. He lived for himself. And only by living for himself was he able to achieve the things which are the glory of mankind. Such is the nature of achievement. Man cannot survive except through his mind. He comes on earth unarmed. His brain is his only weapon. But the mind is an attribute of the individual. There is no such thing as a collective brain. The man who thinks must think and act on his own. The reasoning mind cannot work under any form of compulsion. It cannot be subordinated to the needs, opinions, or wishes of others. It is not an object of sacrifice. The Creator stands on his own judgment. The parasite follows the opinions of others. The Creator thinks. The parasite copies. The Creator produces. The parasite loots. The Creator's concern is the conquest of nature. The parasite's concern is the conquest of man. The Creator requires independence. He neither serves nor rules. He deals with men by free exchange and voluntary choice. The parasite seeks power. He wants to bind all men together in common action and common slavery. He claims that man is only a tool for the use of others, that he must think as they think, act as they act, and live in selfless, joyless servitude to any need but his own. Look at history. Everything we have, every great achievement has come from the independent work of some independent mind. Every horror and destruction came from attempts to force men into a herd of brainless, soulless robots, without personal rights, without personal ambition, without will, hope, or dignity. It is an ancient conflict. It has another name: the individual against the collective. Our country, the noblest country in the history of men, was based on the principle of individualism, the principle of man's inalienable rights. It was a country where a man was free to seek his own happiness, to gain and produce, not to give up and renounce, to prosper, not to starve, to achieve, not to plunder, to hold as his highest possession a sense of his personal value, and as his highest virtue his self-respect. Look at the results. That is what the collectivists are now asking you to destroy, as much of the earth has been destroyed. I am an architect. I know what